When buying a knife in 2024, you gotta consider a few things. One, where to buy the knife for the best price. Two, how good is the knife as an investment, as you probably will sell it eventually. And three, which knife or knife skin is actually the best to buy. CS has a ton of different options now, so let's get into it. First off, where should you be buying a knife in 2024? Well, for convenience of purely buying and not trading, I'd recommend CS Float. They tend to be the cheapest since they have super low fees. Other sites, you'll typically be paying quite a bit more in fees, which means the skins are typically more expensive because people have to sell them and have like a 12% fee taken out, so they're just going to list it at a higher price. But when it comes to buying something like a normal few $100 play skin knife, CS Float is typically the easiest and has the best prices. If you go on Price Empire and have a specific skin in mind, you can actually look it up on the site and they'll show you all the current listings of that exact skin on all the different marketplace sites, and it'll tell you which one is the cheapest. Like here, I just looked up the Gut Fade, and as you can see, CS Float is the cheapest by a few bucks. Obviously, this varies a lot. Maybe you have certain preferences for a certain site, but either way, I would just recommend going on Price Empire because, I mean, here it's a $2 difference. If you want to prefer using a different site, feel free to do that and you'll still be completely fine. But if you're buying something on the more expensive end or even the cheaper end, I'd recommend checking Price Empire either way because it does show you where to actually get the cheapest one right now. Now, if you want to trade for a knife or anything, I definitely recommend Skins Monkey. They're a long-term sponsor of the channel. They give you a free $5 bonus on your first trade as well, so you'll get a little discount when trading for that knife. And you could use them as a marketplace as well. You'll get a 35% deposit bonus when you deposit with cash or crypto. They have a ton of methods as well if you want to do that. It's another very straightforward way to buy skins. If you've got a bunch of random junk sitting around, like play skins or just random stuff from a case opening, I'd highly recommend this as it's actually going to put those random skins to use rather than you just selling them on the Steam market, Steam taking a massive fee, and then the knives being way more expensive on the Steam market as well. You're going to actually put them to use on a site like Skins Monkey. As with other sites like Skinport, BitSkins, and other sites similar to that, they have pretty high selling fees, so stuff can be listed for more than it's technically worth. Links to all these sites will be in the description, but now on to step number 2. How good is your knife as an investment? Now, this can be a bit tricky and varies with every different skin. A site that I use to check long-term price trends is Cantry.dev. You could type in your specific skin and see the price trend over the past few years. Some basic things to consider is if your knife is in the case in the active drop pool, it's going to be a bad investment most likely. If the case has a ton of supply on the Steam market, like the clutch case for example, which has gloves, but you get the point, it's probably going to be a bad investment as well. Some examples of good investments with good cases tied to them is the Breakout case, for example, with exclusively these butterfly knife skins. The case is super limited, it's gone up a ton in price, and that's why you'll see something like a Butterfly Boreal Forest performing incredibly well since the initial CS2 hype has died down. I think it's a completely fine skin to own, it's in a good case, it has good fundamentals, and it shouldn't crash horribly in price, which is why I'd say it's a good hold. Now, the same goes with a lot of skins in the older cases with the OG knives and the Gamma cases, as well as just a few other examples. I'd say the majority, if not all of those knives, are completely fine to buy, and you should expect fair returns or at bare minimum break-even prices long term. But if you're super picky, I always recommend checking the charts. Case price is pretty important as well, and a lot of those older cases have gotten very expensive and continue to climb, so it's no surprise to see the knives follow as well. Certain knives like Damascus steels and stained knives have performed super well in CS2 because they look so much better than they did in CSGO, so that's another thing to consider too. Don't think you have to be buying the flashiest stuff to make a profit or have a solid knife that at least maintains its price. Your Boreal Forest, stained knives, and even battle-scarred versions of knives like battle-scarred Crimson Webs are doing super well. Now that all the Dopplers, fades, Marvel fades, all of those blew up thousands of dollars, a lot of them actually crashed in price when the CS2 hype died and people went back to buying affordable stuff. You'll see a Bayonet fade has crashed down multiple hundreds of dollars in price and is still kind of going down. So Check out the charts on cantry.dev, find something that looks good for you, check what case your knife is in, if it's in an active drop case or when it got removed, and you're pretty set there. Don't just look if the chart is going up or down as well, kind of ask yourself, is this a fair price for the knife, and could you see other people buying this knife for the price? A bayonet fade at $1,200, maybe not, but at $700 where it's crashed in price and completely retraced its whole CS2 hype move, maybe that's a fair price for the knife, so just another thing to consider. So step number 3, is there a best knife or a best skin? Well, the answer is sort of. A lot of butterfly knives outperform normal bayonets. M9 bayonets and karambits do exceptionally well as well compared to other knives. The classic knife, despite not being too sought out for, has a ton of skins with super high returns, so this kind of brings us back to the fundamentals of step 2. It's more important to focus on the case it's in and the amount of people that would be willing to pay the price for the knife rather than just the knife or the knife skin. Just scrolling through classic knives prices here over the past month on Price Empire, the classic fade is up only like 0.2%. The Forest DD-Pat, Urban Mast, and Boreal Forest are all up around 5% in the past month, way more than the classic fade. And you'll note similar trends among other knives. The cheaper skins typically just do better as investments. CS's player count is super high right now. There's going to be so much demand for those cheaper knives as more people are willing to spend money on the game. So from an investing standpoint, I would always stick towards the cheaper stuff. You don't need to go out there and buy a karambit fade or anything crazy like that. Cheaper stuff has always performed better in the past and probably always will. There's just way more people willing to buy it, which is going to push the price up. Also, everything I talked about in this video applies to gloves for the most part as well. You'll note that sports gloves Knox, which are in the glove case, have well over doubled in price. Compared to some of the much more expensive gloves out there, they're on par with everything else, if not doing slightly better. It's just the same fundamentals. Case blows up in price, the gloves are going to blow up too. Of course, the high player count and everything helps too. Don't think looks really matter because they don't. Knox gloves literally look like default gloves and they've over doubled in price. Now, who's paying $500 for a pair of gloves like this? I don't know, but that's supply and demand, baby. So yeah, I'd figure I'd mention that as well, since if you buy a knife, maybe you'll end up with gloves one day. But as always, be sure to check out Skins Monkey, link at the top of the description, get that free $5 bonus, and get rid of all of that garbage in your inventory. Actually get something cool for it. But for now, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.